The Riverwalk along the west branch of the Battenkill skirts a part of Manchester that back in its early days used to be known as Factory Point. The walking paths are on both sides of the river, and the trail network has been expanded since the Riverwalk was first built back in 2013. The trails bring access to an historic part of Manchester, where the earliest industries in town flourished for several decades, drawing their power from the west branch of the river. Though they are long gone now, a sense of history is almost palpable as you proceed along the Riverwalk. There still isn't an easy way to get from one side of the river to the other, unless you're prepared for the balancing act of crossing over courtesy of a fallen tree. A bridge has been in the works for several years, but it's still more of a hope and an idea than a reality. Another walkway and bridge crossing, though, may be coming soon, if plans and financing work out. It would be a bit further upstream, and would provide a scenic shortcut that allowed people to get from Main Street by the Union Underground Restaurant over to the town green. About half of the estimated cost of the bridge has been fundraised, and its backers are hoping the town will also make a contribution. Stephen Drunzik, a board member of the Manchester Riverwalk Association, which has been maintaining and upgrading the walkways for nearly 10 years now, and is spearheading the plan to build this footbridge crossing, described the background and current status of the project. Mr. Drunzik is also a director of the Right Track Foundation, a nonprofit charitable organization which has donated $250,000 towards the construction and planning of the bridge.
Sure. So what we have behind us is some staking on some trees for what we call the Upper Pedestrian Bridge Project. And this is the kind of the culmination of 8 years of effort by a bunch of volunteers. And the whole genesis of this project came out of a working group in the Manchester 2020 project in 2013, when a bunch of citizens were invited by some agencies in the state to come up with a number of projects, plans, ideas for how we can, let's say, improve the overall infrastructure in our community infrastructure. And one of those was the Riverwalk, developing this river corridor here along the west branch of the Battenkill, which we see right along here. For decades, a lot of folks living in the community have felt that this is an underutilized resource. It's a beautiful water asset that bisects the Factory Point part of town. And of course, we have this beautiful waterfall behind us. And a lot of people come to our town and they don't really get an experience to enjoy this river asset, primarily because it's somewhat undeveloped. And part of that is because it's been a little bit challenging to develop along the river corridor, but also it's because of the number of different landowners that have land that abuts the river in this corridor. But in any event, we formed the Manchester Riverwalk, which is a 501c3 in 2014, and I've been on that committee since inception, and it's a hard-working group of about 12 trustees. And throughout the course of since inception, we've been working on this grand plan to create a path, a series of paths and stone steps and access points to, let's say, make it easier for the public to come and enjoy the west branch of the Battenkill. And of course, two of the anchor points for this whole Riverwalk site plan includes two pedestrian bridges. One that goes down one to our, let's say, east of here, where there actually used to be a bridge in the 70s and 80s, and then a larger pedestrian bridge right behind us here, which of course is the project that we are now focused on. Ideally, we would like to build both bridges, and we'd like to make improvements to all the existing walkways, which currently consist of just natural gravel and some wood chips, but we do have plans that have been drawn up by Timber and Stone. We've been working with a number of landscape consultants that have drawn a wonderful site plan for an overall plan that we have. But the reason why we're focusing on this pedestrian bridge right now is because we have run into some hurdles working with a few agencies here in the state of Vermont, because it's very difficult to work within the riparian buffer and within a floodplain along a river corridor in the state of Vermont. And so One of the aspects that we could focus on was the upper pedestrian bridge, which is a bridge that will span the river corridor right behind us, and will provide a beautiful view of the falls. And that's because the bridge is outside the floodplain and it's outside of the riparian buffer zone. So we are focusing on building this bridge as kind of a phase one for our overall Riverwalk concept. But we believe in this project, and we do believe that from a community ROI perspective, this is a great investment. And I think it's something that the town should support, and I know that the community supports us, and the business owners support us, and so we just hope that they'll be able to find some way to support us financially as well.
We'll have to wait and see if the town will decide to give a financial boost to the bridge crossing and how the remaining funds needed for the $800,000 bridge crossing get raised. It would certainly make for a dramatic new way to view the river, as well as opening up a look at how and why Manchester got its start 200 and more years ago. For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKill.